call this meeting to order. The special meeting of the City Commission of Rio Grande City, Texas, Thursday, September 28, 2017, approximately 11:41 a.m. here in Commission Chambers, City Hall, 5332 East US Highway 83, Suite A, Rio Grande City, Texas. This time we'll have the invocation by Commissioner Garza, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Jones.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for giving us the opportunity to get together and take care of city business. We ask that you guide us, that you assist us in the decisions that we make. We ask that you bless this great city and this great state and our nation. We ask, Lord, that you keep our soldiers and first responders in out of harm's way. In Jesus' name I pray.
Amen. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Under the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Next business and orders, item 1B, roll call and finding of quorum. Ms. Peña?
Thank you, Mayor Diaz.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Garza.
Here.
Commissioner Salinas. Commissioner Salinas is absent. Commissioner Ramirez.
Here.
Commissioner Jones.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you, Ms. Peña. This next business and orders, item 2A, ordinances, second reading and adoption of ordinance number 2017-6, City of Rio Grande City, municipal budget for fiscal year 2017-2018. Item 2A.
Mayor and Commissioners, this is the second reading for the budget for 2017 and 18. I know all departments and mostly Mr. Cantu, myself and Mr. Perez have been working on last minute changes. You do have a sheet of paper that was passed out from the first reading to this second reading. These were the changes that were necessary and brought to Mr. Perez's attention, and I think he's approved most of them or all of them.
Yes, you'll see some salary adjustments in there, especially in the PD department. All those salaries are tied with job changes. In other words, people being moved around. They're going to have additional responsibilities of supervising or oversight, or just simply additional responsibilities because they're changing job position. You'll end up with a position maybe in the collections side, is that correct?
Okay, so to be clear, in other words, it's tied to a title, tied to a position, added responsibilities for those individuals.
Correct.
Okay.
You also have a handout of the library, and that is mostly a typo.
Yes, that was just a typo on the utilities. I don't know how I did that, but it had a 9 in there before, so it should have been 12,000.
Which bullet statement is that, or where?
That's it's attached together with all the notes presented. It's the one for the library. It's the second sheet there. That one.
That one.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay.
On the utility sides, it had a 9 there. If you look at your
budget for utilities.
at your notebook, it's got a 9 on the other one. It should be 12,000.
Okay.
Mr. Cantu, calculation-wise, it was correct. It's just that the number was not correct.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Once the adjustments were done throughout the departments, they roll over into the summary of all funds, which is your page number 8. The totals from the different funds roll over into this summary page. And you see those are our major funds, which is the general fund. Special revenue funds are the airport, EDC, and the hotel. The enterprise fund, which consists of our 2 enterprises, which is the sanitation and the public utility. The debt service fund where we set aside our funds to pay our long-term debt bonds. And of course, the subcomponent of the Parks and Rec, boys and girls. I don't know if you want to add anything to this, Mr. Cantu?
No, on this one, the only thing that was done was on the estimated, there was a formula that I needed to adjust on the worksheets for the budget. All those come back into this spreadsheet, and it had a formula. It was calculated with 3 months only, so I had to go in there and adjust it for the 12-month period, and that gave us the total estimated revenues for this last year.
You will notice that the beginning balances are unaudited balances. So once we have the audit for this ending year, something that the finance department will then go back and input those entries. These are estimated. So at the end of this coming fiscal year, September 30th, 2018, you're looking at the estimated fund balances at the bottom.
So overall, as far as the budget, are we comfortable with the budget?
It's conservative, Mayor. I know that the only, I think, budget that received increase in projected revenues was the utility. I know Mr. Bettis worked closely with the department and Mr. Cantu on that. The other ones, we kept our general fund projections quite conservative. So hopefully, we under promise and over deliver by during the year. We're going to start looking at a policy of tracking it monthly and quarterly on certain expenses and projections.
So if our projections are off, we would plan to let you know as we go along, so that we don't wait till the end of the year to realize, oops, we're going to be far too short in any particular area. We should know that along the way, especially on what was estimated as revenue.
One thing that we're doing right now is all the budget expenses that were for this year, we're trying to make sure that they go out this year. That way we can start off fresh with the next year, not incur expenses from this year into the new budget.
In other words, all the invoices, everything that has to be paid out, pay it out and not have any trickle into
Right.
next year's budget. Oh, here's another invoice that for some reason wasn't paid. Or,
Right.
Okay.
There are ongoing commitments, projects, services. Those contract falls in between half of the budget year and half the other budget years. So those are basically liabilities or pending payments that we have that were incurred in the previous year, but they followed through.
They carry over.
We've increased the estimated revenues for 2017, 2018 from the 2016, 2017.
In what fund?
Is that what I'm looking at page 8?
Page 8.
What page, I'm sorry? 8?
In the general? Under
Yeah.
the general fund?
Yeah. On all funds, on the all fund summary that you just showed us here on page 8. Is that what we're estimating? That the revenues are gonna be?
Yes, sir. What we had to do was we had to adjust the estimated for this year because of certain revenue in real estate sale that we did not come in, and it was in a substantial amount. But our auditors informed us that we would put it again in this coming year, and that would be the city property.
So in reference to looking at a scale of conservatism, where are we this year? How conservative are we being? Scale of 1 to 10, let's say.
For this upcoming
10
year?
being highest, 1 being
For this upcoming year? I'd probably say like a 9 or 10.
to be. In other words, we're being very conservative because of obviously projections, and I know this last year, of course, our sales tax was down, and now, of course, not just ours, the entire valley, for that matter, the state has suffered in certain regions. So, and it's a good strategy to be very conservative, and as you mentioned, hopefully anticipation that things will pick up, of course.
Mayor, I feel that this coming year is going to be a year that we start again gaining and funding our fund balance. If you'll go to page 16, you'll see some of our debt that we have a substantial amount. The last payments will occur in this budget year.
This budget year.
We have the one for the street sweeper, the one where we had to upgrade from coaxial to fiber optics in this building, and of course, that large payment for the Motorola radios. So those will come off in this budget year, so we'll start seeing some light at the end of this coming year. And I will have to say that in viewing most of the notices that were coming out of the paper, a lot of our neighboring local governments have had to increase their taxes, but the city has maintained the same tax rate.
And there's a lot of factors that we didn't put in here as revenue gains or estimates because, and we know they're going to happen. For example, the 76 businesses that were identified that were not charging 8 1/4, they were charging 6 1/4. That most of those, if not all, businesses were notified by the comptroller effective September 1. So we're going to go through a verification process. That's a given. We didn't take that into consideration.
I was gonna ask you if there was any way that we can verify that they were notified.
I talked to the comptroller. They assured me they couldn't give me a specific list that would tell me what businesses were notified when, but they assured me it was done. And one way we can verify is as customers. You know, we just check the receipt. We know they're inside the city. We can give you a list of who those businesses are. Two of the bigger ones I know are already in line, you know, that we had identified.
Very good.
And it's good that we take that approach. That way, again, we're conservative, knowing that there will be some leeway, but
Sure.
at the same time, address with the budget that we have, and again, plan accordingly.
And we're working closely with the comptroller. There's a lot of businesses out there that are not permitted that should be charging taxes. There's some hotel businesses we're going to identify and do an approach about their delinquencies that has not been happening. So added all those things on the tax side alone, there should be an uptick in that area. And then again, there's obviously the economy changes and rebounds to a positive, which we expected shouldn't get any worse. Then we should be in a pretty good position.
Once our audit is in place,
Correct.
we're looking at November, then maybe we are now able to get a lot more grants coming in, therefore not having to rely heavily on the local funds. Also, just this morning, if y'all remember with the housing, bid packets are being given out, pre-bids are happening in the next couple of weeks. Bids are due on the 27th. The families will be pre-qualified on November the 4th. And the separate component that the Affordable Homes of South Texas had was for the for-profit, the other 22 lots. They're actually already going to start a model home. So that is moving quickly, and I just feel that that's going to really generate more houses in this area.
Okay.
I just want to add, Mayor, also on the conservative side, on the general fund, we did go very conservative. On the water department, though, we did have to go a little bit aggressive on the revenue sides, just to come up with a balanced budget. I went back and I did a 5-year historical numbers, and there was no way we could bring the numbers on the expenses down, so we had to be aggressive on the revenues, but we'll be monitoring those on a monthly basis.
How are we doing the delinquent accounts?
It's doing good.
So it's been reduced?
Yes, compared to when we started back in November, it started at 300, we're like a little bit above 100,000, like 90 days.
It goes between 50, 70, sometimes it'll go up for 90, but they're on top of it and people are responding. They've gotten used to the process where, you know, you have a chance to make a payment agreement, but you got to keep up with it, otherwise we cut it. or
Okay.
in most cases, they cut it and they come and pay. And so that's been working.
Have we had any other issues with the tampering with the new water meters?
It has slowed down, and we haven't caught anybody.
It's been a while.
We did have a few, and they were fined.
Okay.
And then we had done payment arrangements at the municipal court, but then I spoke to Mr. Lopez yesterday, and I told him I didn't want any payment arrangements, because people were just like leaving it there. I had to close their water pipes versus them coming in and paying in installments. I had to go out there and close their water so they could pay.
Right.
So I was talking to Judge Lopez, and I told him, like, if we're gonna lower the fine itself for them to pay right there. If not, maybe work on something, if they're gonna do an installment, go a little bit higher than what, they have to.
Yeah, they'll do the arrangement and then they don't come through.
What kind of things were they doing with the tampering? Just like magnets or what? What are they doing? The magnets?
There was a case just yesterday, I think,
Yeah.
at 9 o'clock.
Okay.
The violator did not
Did not
show up, so.
It was a pending, it was an old,
Because when they try to tamper with it, the magnet, whatever they're using, it'll show it on your system, right? It'll notify you. It'll send you an alert. It won't.
No, it won't. How we know is that, we give the monthly reports when they read, and then it'll give us a warning, like, this month they used less water than the previous month, or vice versa, it'll give us a warning, they used a lot of water compared to last month, so we target those warnings, and then we figure out, so we keep a track on it.
I got you.
We send our distribution guys to, keep an eye on it, especially houses that we see that have a big lawn, and they're paying, we can say $50, $60, or like, that's not right, so we target, or as they're driving by, they check, how much water are they using, just to make sure, they are not messing up, tampering with the meters and stuff.
Okay.
We have the status on the water rate loss? We have
No,
everything?
actually working with Ricardo this morning to get the water loss. But it has changed from the beginning since we changed, the water meters when Mr. Khan was here, we were at 20%, 60%. So we've been doing really good. Yes, we have been selling, water, because this month itself, and I made sure, because the bills, customers are using more water. We still have summer months, but then, after this month, it'll lower their water consumption.
Okay. Are there any other issues or concerns about the budget or anything that we need to talk about as we plan for this coming year? Anything else that needs to be addressed?
I just feel that we need to be careful, departments. I know that once the new budget comes in, everybody wants to flood the system with purchase orders requests. That we give time to finance. They need to input the budget. They need to run reports to make sure that everything is correct, and to just hold off, and vendors out there to kind of wait on their payment possibly to the second week of October. And this is just to make sure that finance has an opportunity. It is only a staff of 3, and they are working on the audit and closing this year. It gives them a chance to do their work, correctly, and not have to go back and correct, because they were being rushed.
And really, that's going back to, as the year progresses, we need to make sure that we are, I guess, to some degree accurate as far as what is pending. Because as you mentioned, we don't want there to be 2 months and then here comes an invoice. What's the rapid response there to ensure that things are, I guess, delineated right away? In other words, if there's an invoice, so many departments send out, and then all of a sudden they come in a month later or 2 months. Are we streamlining that process to make sure there's very little lag time?
Well, one of the things that I have talked to some of the directors was that in some cases there was a lag in them submitting invoices, and this is starting with the employee. So that's being addressed, because what our interest is that we know what's outstanding and not find out 2 months later on top of everything else. And that was some of the issues we ran into this year. So the ones that I've talked to on a case-by-case basis, where they needed to improve.
And it's really the accuracy of a report. For example, if I come to you and say, okay, where are we? And if we don't know what's still pending, then we're not going to have an accurate number. And that's making sure that we streamline that process to have more of an accurate number as opposed to things still out in the
and not knowing.
Right. Okay. So, we're good? Any other questions, commissioners?
We're good.
No? All right. So do we entertain a motion at this point?
Also, move, Mayor.
Well, there's a language, right, Ms. Peña? Not on this one? Okay, so, all right, so we have a motion by Commissioner Ramirez, second by Commissioner Garza. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye opposed? Motion carries. Next business in order is item 2B, second reading and adoption of ordinance number 2017-7, levying and ad valorem taxes for maintenance and operations and for debt service of the municipal government of the city of Rio Grande City, Texas for tax year ending December 30th, 2017.
Mayor Commissioner, this is the second reading. This is the tax rate that has been proposed and has been adopted in the first reading. Nothing has changed. And there is special language on this as you make your motion. Did you attach this with you?
Where's the language?
See it?
Yeah, I don't see it.
Not to secure that. We had it on the last one.
Yeah, it was in the last one, but it's not on this one.
Yeah, we
Same
had.
thing as the last one. Oh, you didn't put the memo. Memo, the language.
Can you pull the one we used from the
Yeah,
last
let me
one?
pull the other one.
It's on the memo that it was.
The next thing, yeah.
All right, the language is specific and it's here. This time, do we entertain a motion?
Is there no more discussion? That's it?
There's no more discussion unless anything else,
I move
Commissioners?
that the property tax rate be increased by the adopted of the tax rate of 0.497579, which is effectively a 0.86% increase in the tax rate.
Is
Is
that
that correct?
that language correct?
It's the same rate as last year. It is slightly more than the effective tax rate.
And that needs to be clear, that it's the same rate as last year. However, it's a slight based on
Of the effective rate.
of the effective rate. And that's where the language, again, before there's any confusion that we're increasing, but it's the same rate as last year.
Taxes are not being increased.
To make sure that we say that, because if not, we're gonna,
But the motion,
but the motion reads it, but again, it's the same rate as last year, to be clear. All right. So we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Garza.
I'll send the motion, Mayor.
Have a second by Commissioner Ramirez. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Do we need at this point individual, Ms. Peña?
it's a record vote.
It's a record vote, Mayor.
Call my copy.
Commissioner Ramirez,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Garza,
Yes.
Mayor Villarreal.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Motion passed.
Thank you. And at this time, if no one objects, meeting's adjourned. No objection? Meeting adjourned.
Why not, Captain?
It is 12:08 p.m.